In order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Singh.
Here.
Snyder.
Here.
Bartello.
Here.
Troop. Heister.
Here. First thing I wanted to announce is that we had a council an executive session on Sunday night and an executive session today at 5 o'clock to talk about the police contract. There's really not much on the agenda tonight, so we're going to struggle to stretch this out. But anybody here from SRI? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
SRI is currently in the process of getting training for the board of directors and committee members from Mary Lee Stadler from the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. The training will continue until the end of the year, and the training is related to getting nonprofit organizations to grow and expand. Spark is currently looking at options to apply for monies through the DCED and the Neighborhood Assistant Program. The monies would be used for a project that would focus on rehabilitation of a specific property within the city. Once again, we're doing the veterans banners. They're $200 again this year. You can go on the webpage or pick up an application down at the SRI office. The ones that are up now will be taken down at the beginning of November, and the other ones will go up, I guess, in May. The New Year's Eve celebration committee is still planning for New Year's Eve downtown. We have a kids program that starts at 6, and that goes from 6 to 8, and we're still working on the other program from 8 to basically 12:30. The job listing for the Elm Street manager position was published in the Daily Item and on the PDC and SRI website. The deadline for all applications was September 28th, and interviews are currently being scheduled. The position is contingent on further funding. They're having a cemetery tour this Saturday, the 13th. It starts at 6 o'clock. It goes till 9 o'clock. The rain date is Saturday, October 20th. Admission is $5 for adults, $3 for children. And the website has finally been up and launched for SRI. And that's it.
Mr. Schreck, question.
Yes.
Last council meeting, they were discussing possibly on the banners. If you had a banner up, I'm not sure how the sale had been for the second round.
Right.
The second round wasn't real successful. They were going to allow you to take and pay like $100. I think $100 was suggested to keep your banner for another whatever months they were.
Yeah, that's being discussed, but I don't know if there's been a final verdict on that yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And what's the timetable for that slate?
For the banners?
For the new ones?
The new ones, they're going to
Why don't they be going out like next year?
probably like in May of next year. May or June is when we put them up this past year. So.
Any other questions? Redevelopment Authority update, 202 Washington Avenue. Jim, you're up there more than I am. Where are we at right now?
Of course, the site's been prepped. The contractor, I didn't talk to him today. I know they're supposed to be coming in this week, put the footer in, start laying block. So the house is to be basically finished probably mid, I say complete, that's down in plant, because it is a mod home.
Right.
I think the 18th was a projected shipping date. I'm not sure how close they are yet. Once we get closer, pick a date. The code out is going to work with the police department, chief, on the routing. They're going to come out to Chestnut up over 11th, Folsom run up what is that street there? Race. Run up Race. So Race will be blocked off for that whole day. And by that evening, the house will be sitting. One day there's no house, next day there'll be a home. So that's where we're at. And Mr. Wade Brown took and had the hot dogs that day. They were tasty. Went up and had my hot dogs. So.
Yeah. I was going to say, Mr. Millich, I don't see Wade, but between the two of them, if you're wrong, they'll update you.
Bob, he was giving out the water, and they even had dessert.
Oh, wow. Okay. Public nuisance, we're going to have something of those, Joe? You have them, I guess? All right, we'll talk.
Want to hear the addresses or do you want to wait and suspend?
No, let's have the addresses. Give something to think about.
I'll speak slowly.
Okay.
702 Chestnut Street, 850 North 5th Street, 217 through 219 12th Street. This is where the City Council acts as the Board of Health to take the first step and where we ultimately take ownership of the properties through eminent domain, but the first step is to declare the property a public nuisance. After that's done, the owner gets notice, even though typically the owners are long gone, so we post the properties and we advertise at the legal section. But the owner has 10 days to bring the properties back up to code. We haven't run into many where anyone brings anything back to code. But then that allows us to get started with the eminent domain. Last week we were successful in front of Judge Wiest, and we were able to get the large property on Miller Street ownership into the Redevelopment Authority and also property on Walnut Street.
That's good. We're moving forward. Todd, you have some vouchers, tax exonerations. You want to talk about the camera update, Todd?
If you'd like, I can do a little bit of that now. I can hold on to
What do you want to do?
I guess,
Talk about them both times.
well, we can do that for a little bit of time, in case anybody leaves between. As of today, I believe, and Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, at least the bid requests went out formally for the cameras that we're actually looking to secure. At our next public meeting in 2 weeks, we'll actually be looking to open those bids. At the same time, we'll be looking to push forward for council's approval the submittal for the remaining amounts of equipment with the other suppliers that we've been working with. And needless to say, with that done, by the first week of November, the purchase orders can be essentially issued, and we can start securing equipment by the middle of November. So that puts us in a position to have everything in hand before the end of the month of November and be ready to start putting cameras on the street. The chief has supplied a list of locations that he thought were relevant. I know, Mayor, you've supplied that, as well as Jim. Those three lists certainly will be taken into consideration over the next few months as we begin to get all the equipment in hand, and we'll narrow down the initial locations and start deploying before the end of the year. So the good news is that in terms of the grant, all monies will be expended in advance of the deadline. Okay?
It's good. Is Bob coming to the...
You're supposed to be, I spoke to him.
Set up.
No, he might be sneaking in inside.
Okay. Talk about that. Down there in announcements, there's Fleming's Nursery out of Catawissa, Gillisburg, that's donated a dozen.
Well, what happened was they were at a softball tournament up at the complex, and the guy was walking around talking about it's a nice complex, but it needs some more shade. And I said, well, we have a tough time growing trees up there. They don't, we've lost a bunch of them, and Jim's planted throughout the years. And he said, well, you need bigger trees. I said, yeah, they cost a lot of money. He said, well, how about if I give you 12 of them? So we picked them up, I guess, right? But they're all like 20-footers, so we should have 12 new trees being planted this week up throughout the complex at various spots that Jim picked out. So I just want to announce that because I've never met the man a day in my life, but he was, I don't know if his granddaughter won that day, I'm assuming, or what happened. But either way, it's a nice donation because that's a couple $1,000s worth of trees there for sure. The other thing is the PP&L grant. The PP&L grant, we're going to do some, we talked about this in the beginning of the year, but now time's running out. It's like the other, we need to get this in moving. We've got a $2,000 PP&L grant with matching money, $2,000. I guess it's $2,500 now. I think it's $5,000 total. Anyway, the purpose of the grant is to promote and market 3 properties in the city of Sunbury. It will be that Reynolds Smith's property we've talked about. That's who we've been dealing with. The second property will be the Albright Church. And the third property is the one at 4th and Market Street that SRI has been working on and we've all been working on. So it's the first time we've ever actually taken an exact property, and we're going to use through the Chamber of Commerce and through all the connections to promote. They'll take pictures and pretty much market those 3 properties, see if we can't get something moving. I know the economy is horrible and it's, people aren't investing on them, but now's the time that we're going to do that. So I just want to announce that we're going to have a $5,000 grant with PP&L, combination of matching money with us, and and that's what it's going to specifically use for, and we'll, hopefully that works out, and we can use it for some other properties, as, you know, we often talk about, or even other ones we're creating now with the redevelopment authority. Is there something, anybody, anything else want to add, Todd? Or how about the public, any questions? Mr. Miller?
Do we have an ordinance for yard sale signs? Taking them down and sold?
There actually is an ordinance that you can't be placing them on utility poles or public signs.
You can't use nails or staples.
So take them down?
We have, no, just put them up. There's an ordinance that says that you can't use utility poles or public signs.
Well, that's what 3/4 of them are on.
I know. We've been doing our best to enforce it, but, you know, with everything else we have on our plates, we
Or there's one
have to
right
prioritize.
now, one right now on Front Street up by Turkey Hill, and there's one up on 11th and Race Street.
On
Oh.
Well, for old ones, or for upcoming ones, or for old ones? Old ones.
I don't know how many I took down this summer off the pole up at Chestnut and 4th Street.
That is a problem. That is a
It
serious
looks
problem
terrible
in this city.
when they're up.
And we are trying to control, like I said, but we have to prioritize our issues in our office, so.
They have to get permission to put them up anyway?
A lot of places you have to have permission
Where they put them up anyway when they do put them up, because of blocking good traffic and everything else. I know, in other communities, I don't know about here, but I
That's not
know.
stated in our ordinance.
Well, Mike, or that department's doing it, and the code office is doing when they can do it, so to answer your question, no, there is nothing about when they have to take them down, but maybe we'll tell the guys in the police cruisers if they're driving by too, they can just stop and rip them down too at the same time. I'd sort of like rather call the number and tell them they get 20 minutes to go get them.
Yes.
Well, we actually take the signs down, take them to the house, and give them a copy of the ordinance.
At least they'll have a second time.
Oh, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know.
It should be given a bond.
Okay.
That'd be something maybe good for the upcoming newsletters and things like that. Include something in there for signage, especially with the elections coming up and all that stuff too, just to remind people.
Something else?
Yeah, up on Hill, such banners that we had up, there's one on the corner of 11th and Race Street by Olson. It's torn right now. Maybe we can get that one done.
Did you hear that, Mike?
No.
No, Mr. Porter.
11th and
Race.
11th and Race. Banner on the corner right now.
Mike, up on North Front Street, in and around, before you get to Turkey Hill heading north, there's I think it's a yard sale sign, a wooden window, leaning up against the wall, and they picked it up today, and I seen it earlier this morning.
I did see it on the way in tonight, actually.
Okay, still there? Okay.
okay. I don't know if they have other banners. Yeah, I think it's like Terry says, I think there's a lot of banners aren't too good shape anymore.
Dave, one more thing I mentioned. I know you've been hot on the natural gas converting our units over the equipment here in the city. I watched a segment on TV the other day, Chesapeake Energy on the western part of Pennsylvania. They're going to start using like the sheets and so forth, like what those sheets is out there for some other chain, okay? But Chesapeake, there was a gentleman, Norman, I can't remember his last name offhand. The segment was on like the 27th of the last one. They actually have a task force together developing natural gas stations for vehicles in the state of Pennsylvania. That's what it's working on. So I think maybe put a task force together and research it. And I know Chesapeake was, that's who was on the segment, PCN was where it was.
To add to that also, just I noticed CEDACOG is in the process now of developing a new authority, similar to the Joint Rail Authority, but this particular authority is going to be focused on developing the pipeline infrastructure required to actually get natural gas from the main lines into communities for the purposes of residential and business use, but also specifically to develop those stations for fueling. So we might want to touch base with CEDACOG and just make sure we have some sort of representation maybe in that discussion. I know that sometimes the commissioner's relationship with them is frayed, so it might be good for us to talk with them directly. So that's what I've read. But it might be worth our time to try to get in on those meetings.
Yeah, right from the beginning. Very good, very good.
Yeah.